welcome to the very lucky episode 13 of The Backcourt. Huge show ahead. Some random stuff coming across our desk. We're talking Tasmania plates and trophies, plus Barbie, Deadpool, and Wolverine. Hannah Q, hi, my name, Matt Fote here. Geez, chilly long weekend on the east coast of Australia, my friend.
Yeah, winter's finally arrived, hasn't it, Hannah? Lots of rain, lots of shivering temperatures for my weekend. Went down to the beach, and it always feels a waste going down to the beach in the middle of winter because it's even colder. Sea breeze. But no, an enjoyable long weekend. Spent yesterday, obviously, it's a big game or big day in the sporting calendar now. The King's birthday clash, the big freeze, Neil's Day. They should change the name, shouldn't they? Neil's Day. But it was good to see, of course. Diamonds captain Liz Watson went down the slide. Second netballer, I think. I think Statues McMahon has been down before.
Yes, Bianca Chatfield also.
Three, there you go. Chatters, friend of the show.
I love the outfit. I think the outfits are almost the best part of the sliding.
Because it was Aussie icons, wasn't it?
Fantastic. So to see Barbie, a.k.a. our Aussie icon in Margot
Firebirds celeb. Margot
Absolute
Robbie.
royalty. Yeah, she looked awesome.
Yeah.
And I actually laughed at how she outed the ice bath protocol of the Sunshine Coast Lightning and admitted she only goes up to her waist. So I thought, that is a huge confession.
Well, I'd say most sports people, the ice baths, they don't usually go much higher than maybe like your navel, your belly button. I don't think you'd go much you're not going much further.
You're not up to your neck?
No.
Netballers are using shoulders, they'd be fatigued.
But there's only so much risk and reward. What did you think of her actual slide though? I thought overall all of the sliders didn't get as much airtime as previous years. Maybe the slides changed.
I was actually thinking about this. Like if I were to go down, I'd almost abandon the toboggan and just go a bit of a starfish out.
I think people have attempted that, but obviously again, you need to know probably OH&S, they're not really working with a big area there. And do you really want to go full sort of starfish,
bit of a
belly flop into an ice bath? I don't know.
And the bad news is that vision is stuck with you forever. I loved on the Fox coverage, Bianca Chatfield had to relive her moment. But speaking of netball, Alyssa Healy killed it as the honourable patron of netball, I'd call it, in Sharon Strzelecki from Kath and Kim.
Yes, absolutely. And what I really liked was the pash rash. Obviously, for fans that did watch Kath and Kim, Sharon was more than just a sports snuffy, a netballer. She obviously quite the romantic. So she always had that little bit of pash rash around the lip. And Alyssa had gone to the extra detail of getting that done. And it maintained after she went through the ice, which made me think maybe it was legitimate pash rash. Because often makeup will run and so on. So it was interesting to say that. No, it was very good to see.
I did imagine being the makeup artist your whole life. You've been creating these amazing looks and then you get told, the brief is pash rash.
I think they'd enjoy it, the makeup artist. Just something a bit left of centre, right of centre.
Do you reckon Alyssa was kissing Mitch Stark or do you reckon Sharon Strzelecki, as she said at the top of the slide, had been pashing Shane Warne, a.k.a. Mark Taylor?
Well, does it count as cheating if you're someone else?
Oh, let's open the can of worms early on the backcourt. Big conversations. I spent my weekend trawling the social media because I thought after last week's revelation of the half up, half down netball chat, hair chat, backcourters, I thought at least one person would come along with me on the half up, half down conversion journey. But it doesn't look like it has taken off. So I think sometimes we wonder, do we get a bit of influence with this show? There is no influence. There are no influencers around here. No one has been influenced to go the half up, half down.
Speak for yourself. I've seen a lot of people wearing hats recently and I always wear a hat. No, you're right. It was a bit disappointing not to see half up, half down.
I'm putting it out there. I really think someone should come on board. I will personally write a letter of thanks if someone gives it a go, but I guess it's just me on my lonely island.
Well, it's probably enough people need to watch you Get Ready With Me. I think as of time of recording hasn't come out yet, but by the time people listen to this. So maybe now that they'll know how to do the hair, they'll be able to do it.
It was clearly the how-to that was stopping people from getting on board. But that's right. I'll keep fighting the fight. Join in on the half up, half down. Otherwise, loving everything else that comes across our DMs, including, we've been speaking about Aussie icons with the big freeze, the Thunderbirds. I think they prepped the mood for Aussie icons with their dress-ups before training, which we know they like to do sometimes.
Yeah, they do it, I reckon, about once a year since I reckon Tanya recently, especially during their successful back-to-back period. They've had a training session once a year where they just have a bit of fun, which is, again, very local sporting club, isn't it? Sometimes, I reckon a classic of the genre is when you're a bit younger, you go 10-pin bowling or something like that. Or
as team bonding?
No, instead of training.
Oh,
let's just have a bit of a fun night. And obviously when you're 14, it's fun. By the time you're 21 and trying to go into 10-pin bowling or the pub, is another option. But no, so basically they have a dress up, don't they? And this year it was Aussie Icon. So I'll just run through what was presented to us.
Yeah, who were some of your favourites?
Well, I'm going to read them out and I'll give you just a couple of comments to go. So Matilda Garrett, Sophie Casey and Sam Marie Visser went as the Irwins. So they lose points for jumping on the bandwagon for the Lightning. Being there, it's done. But also you get points for thinking smart. It's a pretty easy kit to put together. Just go down, do any sort of, hard yakka sort of setup. Khakis, right as rain. Kayla Graham went as Shane Warne.
Oh.
So she wasn't wearing a shirt. She was just wearing a vest, which loses points, but she gains points for actually attempting a leg spinner.
Oh, no. You're a bit of a cricket champion yourself. Yeah. How did you rate the action?
Don't say champion. They can cut me to that. No, to be honest, it wasn't too bad. Okay. I've seen worse attempted leg spinners. Obviously, it was quite a short pitch, and Georgie Hortis gobbled it up nicely, as we expect.
I feel like she could play any sport. Do you reckon there's a future? Kayla Graham, she's making waves in the netball world. Do you think she could code switch?
Oh, I'd have to see more, but I liked what I saw so far. Lauren Frew, this is a great callback. Jamae.
Summer Heights High.
And obviously had her own spin-off, Private Schoolgirl. So great callback and easy costume design again. Looked like she just got the old school dress out. Georgie Hortis went as B1 or B2. I suspect she already had the costume for something else.
Do you reckon it was a last minute like, oh gosh, I forgot at training we have to dress up. Oh, what's in the costume
that's
drawer?
What it screamed. Or they got told and it's just not really her go.
Yeah.
Georgie seems like the kind of girl we're like, that's not really her go. She's got the B1 costume.
She's too busy playing both wing attack and goal attack simultaneously.
She's got too much going on. I'm pretty sure she probably studies something really smart as well. She's one of those people. These are probably my winners here. Lucy Austin and Taylor Williams went as Kath and Kim. So obviously, we've already talking about Sharon Strzelecki. It was definitely the most effort that went into the look. And also they nailed just the stride patterns, and it's more than just dressing up for them. There was the stride patterns, the aura they carry themselves with was really good.
Do you reckon there was a bit of film study? They've been watching their opponents, but they've been watching Kath and Kim.
Wouldn't surprise me if Lucy Austin's family were big Kath and Kim fans.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, my family were big Kath and Kim fans too.
I've watched every episode of that show.
Is that because there was a netball in it?
Absolutely. Yeah, we don't stray too far. I loved it so much that my mum, for my birthday, actually bought me the scripts from season 2 as a book.
So you just read Kath and Kim?
I read Kath and Kim's scripts. That's how much I love this show. I can't believe I'm admitting this.
I don't know why you put that out. There we go. Kath and Kim was all over it this week because Richmond and Sydney played in the AFL and Sydney put up a post. It was the Kath and Cal Cup.
Kath and Cal Cup. He did go for the Swans.
Anyway, Hannah Petty went as Sharon Strzelecki.
Yeah.
I didn't see enough of a close-up to see if she'd gone to the same effort as Alyssa Healy.
Alyssa Healy won me over because she had the neck brace. I
think Hannah Petty had the neck brace.
She had the neck brace.
Yeah, but maybe not the pash rash is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, she also had Shane Warne on her team, so clearly.
Yeah, exactly. There's obviously a connection. And then the final ones, which I enjoyed because they gave it a go, but I don't know whether they actually hit Aussie icons. Like, are we handing out icon a bit too easily here? Romelda and Latanya went as Connor Rosey and Asava Radigalia. So they had the port kits. They had a footy.
Ooh.
Romelda just hit Latanya lace out, nice little drop punt. I'm going to lose points because Connor Rosey might not even be a Port Adelaide icon, and Asava he's only young, he'll probably get there. I don't know if Asava and Connor are Aussie icons just yet, but I did enjoy that they're going there. Obviously, a nice relationship there between the two sporting codes.
Please respond.
I also think you want to talk about code switching with Kayla Graham and cricket. I reckon Romelda in the goal square for the power and Latanya running on the wing. Latanya, they'd both be, not that we want them to leave netball, but I think I'd pay good money to watch Latanya play AFLW.
Do a bit of a Shani Layson and just go flick on the Guernsey for a couple of weeks.
Oh, there's plenty of cash in it too. Good marketing. Yeah. I reckon you watch this space. But I think it's a dangerous time for the rest of the competition. Now, I did write this before the weekend. that both times I've seen them do this, they've won the flag.
Let's pretend the Thunderbirds played well on the weekend and won.
So both times they've done this, they've won the flag. So maybe that was Tanya's last-ditch effort to get them back on track. But there you go.
Didn't work out too well.
Let us know what you thought of the Thunderbirds' efforts.
Oh, clearly they were performing better off the court than on the court this week, but we'll get to that shortly. Another region that we love, and maybe they do need to come to the party, Tasmania. Brittany Carter's article in the ABC caught my eye during the week, talking about how Tassie, maybe it's time they enter the SSN, and I bloody love it.
Yeah, Brit does great work, doesn't she? I think the keynotes there is that they were rumoured to be in the race to get the 8th licence when the Mavericks got it in 2020 or in 2023. but they're in a better position now. They've got participation numbers are up by 10%. They've got 5 players in the Aussie squads, youth squads. They've actually got 2 stadium options, the Silverdome in Lonnie and My State Bank in Hobart, that have both hosted games. And they've both got more, and often people say the stadiums aren't big enough. I've actually heard that conversation had in netball circles. They're actually both bigger than Uni SC Arena, obviously privately owned. But I guess the main angle here is that there's obviously been a big energy about Tasmania getting a footy team. And in recent times with the political upheaval down there, that there's a couple of worries that the stadium, it'll get built, but it might take forever and it might halt the Tasmanian footy team. How about scrap the stadium? Scrap the $945 billion or whatever it's going to cost them down there. Scrap the AFL team. Don't need it. Super Netball, it'll cost, I reckon, 1% of what having a stadium would cost. We know that the stadium's already there, as I've mentioned. We know that they get on board teams like that. The Jack Jumpers are massive, and the netball CEO just went there in a bit of synergy. But I just think, how good would it be to see a Tasmanian Super Netball team?
100%. And I think you look to the AFL as the recipe of the administration we don't want to follow.
Yeah.
Like, imagine putting in your contract, it might not go ahead. Netball, we've known for ages.
Well, just put a team in there. You got 2 stadiums.
How hard could it be?
Well, the problem with the parliament is a lot of people assume that the only issue in Tasmania's parliament is the stadium. It's actually not. The main issue is that the way the budget has been done. The state's out of money.
That's fine.
We're not going to cost any money. You got the stadiums. You just send some players down there. They'll rent a couple of apartments. How hard could it be?
Macquarie Point, beautiful space.
No, don't need it. We got My State Bank's on the corner there, in just outside Glenorchy. You got the Silverdome in Lonnie. And as someone who lived in Tasmania for 6-7 months, people often say, but the players won't want to live down there. There's nothing to do. Well, I've got a list of things to do in Tasmania. So let's start over. Over the weekend, Dark Mofo Festival was on. Always good. So, if you were down there as a netballer right now, you'd have front row seats. They've got the Taste Festival, I believe.
Oh.
Yep. That's something that my Tasmanian friends, I never went to it, but my Tasmanian friends often mention that to me. Mona, Museum of New Art. Now, you told me off air that you've never been.
I've never been to Tasmania, but a Lucy Austin. Mm-hmm. Maybe she's an art aficionado. And
maybe get her down there, obviously, and she'd be prime target for a Tasmanian team. So get down there. You can get the ferry across from Salamanca. Salamanca is a great spot. Eateries, cafes, nightclubs, bars, everything there. You got Cargo, you got Grape, you got the Whaler. You can have a meal out the back of Grape in another establishment that I can't remember the name of. And then if you walk to the toilet, come out of the toilet and turn left instead of right, you walk into the nightclub. Don't have to re-enter.
Sophie Fawns is nodding her head.
Exactly. Another player that might be looking for a new team. Then you've got the markets, Salamanca market, knickknacks, a bit more touristy on a Saturday, but Sundays, that's where your winner is. Farmgate market. Blocks out a street in a bit more North Hobarty, but it's magnificent. Fruit, veg, juices, meats, food trucks, and the best donuts you will ever have. If you're a celiac, unfortunately, like my wife, you won't get to partake in those. But all athletes, they've played a game Saturday, they need to get some sugar back into their bodies, head to Farmgate Market, get those donuts into you.
Is this Tegan O'Shaughnessy coming across?
Oh, she would absolutely field day for Tegan out there. Alwick Racecourse is just a 13-minute walk from My State Bank Arena. If you need to get rid of a few extra match payments, go up there, put a bit of money on the ponies, watch them run around, great spot. Richmond, Wineries Deluxe in Richmond. Now, there's a Richmond in almost every state of Australia. But Pooley Winery was a personal favourite, but there's a nice little strip of wineries there. Beautiful spot, beautiful weather, beautiful wines.
I think Simone McInnes is saying, actually,
Simone,
I like the pub, I like a wine.
See you later. Tassie, here we go. The casino, again, if you want to, got some disposable income, it hasn't been upgraded since the 70s out there in Sandy Bay, but still casinos. Every state's got one. Have a bit of fun. Oysters. Now, everyone loves an oyster. If you don't like oysters, I don't know what's wrong with you. But Bruny Island oysters, you take the ferry out to Bruny Island. These oysters are the size of your hand. They're magnificent. And for people like my sister, for example, who doesn't like oysters, they did these like sort of Japanese crumbed fried ones, like little chicken nuggets. So they do so much with oysters down there. And there's more seafood as well on the East Coast.
Okay.
Swansea, you'd think you're in North Queensland. Beautiful views. Bitchino has the Lobster Shack. Get one of the best lobster rolls you'll ever have in Bitchino at the Lobster Shack. Fresnay, Wineglass Bay. A friend of mine in Tassie always said, West Coast, rainforest, East Coast, desert.
Oh.
It's a magnificent place, Tassie. So let's make it happen. AFL team, no. Super Netball team, yes.
What a sales pitch. Bravo.
Thank you.
And off the back of that list, I think all the players will want to sign up for this franchise. This is huge. Maybe we can look to some private ownership of the model of the Lightning, SENs, Mavericks, maybe Tasmania. Can I float 2 people who could be good owners
You can
for
sail
this
it.
team? Sail it. You've almost read my mind here. So Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman.
Deadpool and Wolverine.
That's it. Can you imagine 2 better people to be the brains trust of this netball team?
Well, they've never failed at anything in their lives.
So the context here is they've bought a sailing team. They won the 3 of the last 4 races.
GPs.
Sail GPs. I'm wondering if the owners of the Bonds, Flying Roos, can fly down to Tasmania and make this happen.
Oh, I think, well, that's it. If it was available to them, of course they could. I think absolutely. You sail anyway, Sydney to Hobart, tie it all together.
There we go. Sail to the top of the SSN Premiership, buddies.
Just a couple of things before we move on from this. So I did see that again on ABC Sport. Ryan and Hugh have got involved with the Bonds Flying Roos. Reynolds, Jackman, Bonds ad, make it happen.
I think the revenue just off that would be enough to fund an entire SSN team.
Whole league. And as you said, we need to allow more, let's get more private ownership because we're missing out on all this sweet celebrity cash.
Yeah.
They're all ready to throw it around, bit of PR stuff, bit of sports washing. I'm sure Ryan and Hugh are great blokes, but there will be celebrities out there that might want to endear themselves to the community.
Netball says bring it on. If you've got cash, just come on through.
We'll take it. No questions asked.
No further questions. Backcourters, do you reckon there's merit to this? Who would be standing up this Tassie team? Who could the owners be? This is the part that intrigues me when you go into the sports business of it all. I think there are legs. Let's expand this league and get Tasmania into it. Speaking of netball admin, our favourite people, the administrators, they do a lot of great work, but I'm putting World Netball on notice.
Yeah.
I saw a very questionable media release last week.
It was very brief, wasn't it?
A brief, we'll go with that. About we're all so excited about the Netball World Cup 2027, Sydney on Australian shores. Couldn't be a more exciting time to be an Aussie netball fan. And so naturally we're all asking questions of how's it going to work? And then beautifully this release comes across my desk and I think, fantastic, let's hear it. Can I ask you, Matt, are you any clearer on what actually is going to happen with this cup, plate, all the silverware? What are we doing?
Big announcement. So the headline of this press release is that World Netball have introduced the plate to encourage
I'm intrigued.
Teams. Right, exactly. So you open the press release, you're like, right, it's going to explain it or at least link to something.
Can't wait.
Basically, all they say is the top 4 teams, so your semi-finalists, will play for the World Cup as per.
Yep.
And then rather than 5th to 16 or whatever, just playing off to figure out who finished 5th, right? They've named it a plate. So they can, whoever finishes 5th will get to actually take home a minor premiership, if you will.
Now, hang on a second. We need to slow this down. This is a World Cup. We are not playing for participation trophies of 5th place.
I do get it, but how nice would it be for Tonga to take home the World Plate?
Mate, they couldn't take home the Pac-Oz series.
Well, maybe Samoa will.
I just don't get the whole firstly, the release told us absolutely
nothing. Was my actual issue is that they've headlined it. They've said, right, this is what we've bought in, and then no explainer on how it works.
And the backcourt. Now, we do we try and do as much research for the backcourters as we can because we know you guys like the truth. We're being
and you come here for the truth.
Definitely not just shit jokes all the time. We have these phones have been blowing up. We've been
Producer's Liv's run out of battery.
She actually did run out of battery. Trying to make phone calls to the head dogs at World Netball, blah, 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 finding out what is the go. Nobody can tell us. Find it.
I found one mini explainer on a Zimbabwean website.
How truthful do you? How much do we trust this source?
And the way it was written was they weren't very confident. So their explanation is, I think that so after the group stages, the top team from each group will go into the World Cup.
Okay.
Right, straight into semis, and then their explanation, I think, is 5 to 8. So everyone who finished second would then play off for the minor plate.
Okay.
Right, and then the bottom 8 can just do what they want. But then I saw another TikTok where it was like everyone from 5th to 16th, which is 12 teams, which doesn't work as a knockout tournament. Anyway, my main issue is that they said, we're doing the plate, and then they left it at that. So does that mean that they said, oh, this would be a good idea, and we haven't figured it out yet, but we'll put out a release, or they've just decided not to tell us?
It's screaming that World Netball went to the pub and said, I've got a great idea to give, some prizes out to the nations that, it's always the same top 4. We need something for 5th. Yeah, hell yeah.
And then they flicked an email to the comms team and said, sort it.
It's 16 beers deep. They went, I've got a great idea. Push it out. Get it out now. And then they've left it and
No
they've
explainer.
ghosted us with actual
And they're like, yeah, we'll get around to it soon. Anyway, we look forward to finding it out. It's very amateur from them. But I'll tell you who isn't an amateur. Well, they are now.
Who's that?
Geva Mentor. She's retiring.
You cannot call Queen Geva
Well, once she steps
amateur.
away from the professional game, she's no longer a professional.
That is not how it works.
She's retiring nonetheless.
Okay, she's a retiring
I'll
champion.
tell you what was amateur, the social media post, personally.
Okay. Now, we do actually now, Geva, love your work. For so many clubs, you have been a stalwart of netball and we love you for
Almost
it.
500 games, probably more.
However, we did drop the ball on this. No,
Yeah.
it was
I may
cute.
not drop I think the idea had merit.
So
It was the execution.
So just to take you through Geva's announcement, she's hanging up the ASICs, net burners or the Mizunos, and she's done this beautiful video, which is her at her house, whatever, wherever she
The
lives.
garden looks beautiful in the background, mind you, rolling hills.
And she's taken us through her history of netball by putting on all of the dresses, albeit her first dress was just like
Well, there's a
sticky
tag, and then I think there's one where she takes it, and the tag's still attached, so it's clearly not a match-worn dress. It's clearly
That's right.
yeah.
We'll look past that. So she takes us through all of the dresses in her wardrobe, saying, "This is my playing journey." But how the video starts is
Wow.
she picks up the phone.
Well, yeah, it's retirement on the phone.
Retirement literally calling, which I was like, I love this. I love this detail.
The fact that you love it is probably a sign that it's not, they haven't quite nailed it.
The track in the background,
Yeah,
can we
Dance
also?
Monkey. I don't know. Someone told me Tones and I's in hot water. I don't follow Tones and I's story like close enough, but I don't think Dance Monkey's the song you want to use when you announce that you're retiring from a sport that you've spent 20 years or more putting your life into. And you're like, you know what will sum up 500 games of netball? Dance Monkey.
Do you think she's had a lot of time, obviously 20 years, to think about the one day where she will
Do you reckon
retire?
she's just a huge fan of Dance Monkey at the time?
I just wonder how many years of preparation went into this video of like cooking up. When I do eventually one day announce my retirement, what's the song that encapsulates the highs and the lows?
Yeah.
She's been
Monkey.
dancing through.
Dance Monkey. So, like you said, she goes from dress to dress. We can debate how the execution was. The final part is so she hangs up the Leeds Rhinos dress and she closes the door.
Metaphorical.
Right, closes the door. But as she closes the door, she takes an item out and it's her book, her autobiography, right? Which is clearly a come and get me plea for book publishers to give her an advance on a second book. Because it's very prominent in the last bit of the video, isn't it?
See, again, one of the reasons why I love this video, it's so rich in symbolic meaning. She's saying that one chapter has closed and hopefully another book deal to come. Keep us hooked on the next chapter.
You got to keep that cash rolling in.
I loved it.
And obviously she also posted on X or Twitter, as it was formerly known.
Yes.
And
not the whole. She didn't repost the video.
So not a video. She just did.
That's what I think is even greater.
Yeah. So she's planned it. Yeah, different. They've the strategy.
She's just gone 2 photos from that beautiful video.
No. But the second photo is not from the video. Now this one where looks to be hanging up, but it's already hung up. But she looks to be hanging up a frame from I think it's her Collingwood days. I think from memory. She's clearly not actually hanging up. It's clearly hung up, and it's just a room that's just a shrine to her netball achievements, which I think every person who's played half a career of sport would have that room. But it was just the way it was set up and the fact that she's in the photo. Personally, just take a photo of the room.
Do you reckon that's her bedroom? Like, is that permanently, like if you go to Geva's house, she's just got shrine to herself?
No, there's a whole room. There's a whole room dedicated to it.
In England,
yeah,
mate, real estate is so expensive there. You are having half
rooms. They build up. But I feel for her poor partner who's having to take these photos, and he's definitely he or she. I think it's he is being told, wrong. Do it again. Shoot photo. Why? Yeah,
Babe,
too much head. Yeah, exactly. So I want to know how long it took them. But look, it's a great career.
All jokes aside, fantastic career.
She's one of England's greats, isn't she?
She'd have to be one of the best ever.
She's in the conversation.
Who else would you put in that combo?
Look, I'm not as across the netball's history as you, but the obvious ones for me are obviously Helen Housby and Joe Harton.
Do you reckon they'd also have a shrine to themselves
in
their
I
homes?
look forward to Joe's retirement video, which I assume will definitely
Hopefully,
be this
which is
year.
a long time away. I hope there's.
No. What song would she choose? Anyway, we're getting sidetracked. But there's some other names that you've jotted down.
Well, I reckon Sonia McCloma, I think she would have to be up there as one of the greats. Maybe Serena Guthrie would be there.
Yeah,
Joe Harton would have to be.
Joe Harton would be up there. Jay Clark and Helen Housby's still doing the business.
Yeah.
And got many years ahead of her. But we want the community to get in touch. Let us know, especially our English friends who are always ready to tell us where we've been wrong. Gary Burgess might even be one of the England's greats.
Oh, absolutely. He actually would be my top, one of my top three iconic England.
But let us know.
people.
Slide into the DMs, get in the comments. Let us know who is England's best ever netballer.
And who would have a shrine to themselves in their homes.
Exactly. That's another thing. But as one glittering international netball career ends, another is just beginning. Hannah Kuhar is going to be leaving the podcast for a couple of months because, you tell them what's happening.
Oh, now I'm getting flustered. Yeah, no, exciting news for the Backcourt family. You'll be getting a new co-host for about 7 weeks. I'll be back by the grand final. That's a pinky promise. Can't leave the Backcourters without grand final content. But yeah, exciting news. I'm rambling because it's emotional. Now, Backcourters, guess what? We're going to have to start paying close attention to the Jamaican Elite League because I'll be playing there for their season.
Exactly. So that's the big news. Our co-host, our aficionado on the game, is playing for the Manchester Spurs in the Jamaican Elite Netball League.
Yes.
What a name of a league, by the way. They just says what it does on the tin. It's an Elite Netball League. And the Manchester Spurs, nonetheless, won the premiership last year.
Absolutely. So I've been drafted to a very good.
So you mentioned the draft there. Yeah. So explain the whole thing, Hannah, because you were telling me before over a double espresso what your journey to being in the Jamaican League. Because when you said to producer Liv and I've got some big news, and you walked into the room and you said, look, I can't do the podcast for a couple of months. I'm moving to Jamaica for 2 months. We were both excited for you, but also a bit like, how in the world has that come about? So give us a brief little rundown of how you've gone from Mount Eliza to Manchester Spurs.
I know when you say it like that, it's like, what the F am I doing with my life? I'm 28 years old. My mum's like, when are you growing up?
Don't worry, don't bother. Peter Pan it.
Nah. So Backcourt family, let me take you on a bit of a journey through my life.
Quickly.
Quick journey. So basically, we love netball at the Backcourt. I've loved netball since the age of 7 and I've always wanted to be a professional netballer, right? And so I reckon 2017, 2018, back in the A&L days, so the second league behind the SSN, I was playing with the Western Sting. I was in their squad, so Fever Reserves. Around that point, I was like, right, we'll see if we can get an SSN contract, but where's the next place that I can also try? And so I remember going through our friend World Netball, their rankings of all the countries.
What a
and
website.
Thought New Zealand, can I get a contract there? Kind of hard. They're looking at ex-SSN players. I'm not one of those. All right, where else? UK. I'm not eligible because visa issues. And again, they want ex-SSN players. All right, where's the next country? And I remember thinking, Jamaica. They have the best netballers in the world coming to Australia. Could I get a contract there? So I remember writing an email. I thought about it for a few years, but I was a bit nervous. Didn't send the email. 2020, I reckon, was the year that I sent the email.
And it's very common, listeners, for netballers on the fringes like HK to clip up highlights because netball scouting network isn't as deep as other sports. So often players will have to be on the front foot themselves and clip up highlights and send them out to these leagues and go, this is me, this is what I do. Are you interested? Because unlike European football and AFL and stuff, there aren't a million scouts being paid to watch games. Just
no,
for
not
some
quite.
context.
Good context. So, basically I sent an email to, secretary@netballjamaica.com and I just said, hi, I'm Hannah.
What an email address, by the way.
Again, real mind-boggling stuff. Just said, hi, I'm Hannah. This is my age. These are my attributes. This is what I can do. What are the odds of us making this work? And in 2020, they said, oh, sorry, COVID. 2021, I followed up. They said, oh, sorry, still COVID. 2022, oh, we've got no money after COVID. It just didn't work. And I just thought, okay, whatever. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, as my mum has drilled into me. And then I reckon a week or so ago, I get an email.
From secretary@netballjamaica.com.
Yeah. Random Monday morning. And they said, hi, Hannah, our league's going ahead, but do you want to chat? I went, oh, my God.
The Elite Premier League.
This is professional netball in Jamaica. I was like, oh, this is crazy. And so anyway, long story short, jump on FaceTime, couple meetings, couple more discussions. They're like, yep, all right, this is probably going to happen. Here's a contract. You're going into the draft. I found out that I got drafted, little crazy calls at 1:00 in the morning. I'm finding out, this is actually happening. Started getting some DMs. I was like, this is real. And so, that's how it all happened.
So you've been drafted.
Yeah.
We've done some digging research, as you already mentioned we do. We can't find anything of the draft. We don't know what number pick Hannah was taken. We do know she's been drafted to the Manchester Spurs, who won last year against the Kingston, I forgot their name. I looked them up, Hummingbirds, I think.
Yeah.
They beat the Kingston Hummingbirds in the decider. You can watch it on YouTube if you want to get a look at the league, the Elite Premier League. But a combination was you're living in some sort of reality TV sort of setup, aren't you?
So Jamaican Netball, they're helping me out. They've got a house over there. So I'll be living in Netball Jamaica House.
Yes.
Which makes me think, am I actually walking into netball? Am I walking into Big Brother Jamaica?
Could be Jamaican netball Big Brother.
Do you reckon they've thrown me Usain Bolt?
Yeah, maybe. I think Usain, you're dreaming.
Shelley-Ann Fraser-Price.
Asafa Powell, maybe. But so you're over in Jamaica. Like you said, you got message last week. You're leaving tomorrow. So we're recording today. You're leaving tomorrow.
By the time the backcourters see this, you'll be
mid-air.
In the air.
And when's your first training session with the Manchester Spurs?
First training was Sunday past.
Right.
And I'll be there probably for the next training Sunday.
And where are they having training?
Oh, I can tell you. There's a school
You're in a
venue
WhatsApp as well, and that's the thing, listeners. It doesn't matter how high you go in a sport. It's all the same. People are just better at the sport.
So I do want to share this because, I've played netball from,
7.
From the grassroots up, and I just love that you've always got a coach says the, nice welcome message, you get some heart reactions, lovely. I had to have a chuckle when the first training came up and the coach puts in a reminder of, hey, girls, reminder, 4 p.m., blah, 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 sweet as, more thumbs up. Instantly, there's a girl who replies, she says, hey, guys, and this is Saturday afternoon, training on Sunday. She goes, good afternoon, I'm running a little late. And I went, this is
can't make it tomorrow.
So then someone else, AP jumps in with 3 question marks and says, tomorrow is training, not today. And I went, this is great because no matter where you are in the world.
Nothing ever changes.
Nothing changes. There's always someone who's got the wrong date for training who turns up early or late. Someone else is roasting them in the group chat. You get the laugh reaction. World Netball, it's the same wherever you go.
And I think that people should look. We're fighting wars all over the world. We're all the same.
We're all
in WhatsApps, talking trash, missing training, don't want to train. It's all good. Doesn't matter what level of sport you play. The higher you go, nothing changes except the actual ability of the players. But HK,
I spoke to my coach and I said, do I need to bring anything particular? And he goes, you're a netballer. You should know what to bring. And I was like, that is a fair whack. Yeah. I should know.
It's just netball.
So, no, very iconic.
It's very, very exciting, Hannah. We can't wait to watch from afar via your socials, maybe a bit via the backcourt socials.
Yeah.
The journey to Jamaica, the netball, the Elite Premier League, go the Manchester Spurs. Send us over some Manchester Spurs merch. We'll be wearing it. We'll be following along. We'll be watching on YouTube.
Yes.
That's a great thing about it. It's free, not behind a paywall in Jamaica, is it? It's available worldwide. Get behind it. We're very excited.
Yeah.
But we need to move on to some netty news.
Quickly. I said last week, geez, this relationship is souring. Yeah. He's cheated on our podcast. Yeah. Now he's trying to move on already. Yeah. I'm still in the room.
I think that's gaslighting. I cheated on the podcast.
Going over to Jamaica. All right, well, you enjoy finishing the episode.
I'll do netty news by myself. No, we've got to get into the weekend action. Here's the netty news. Oh. I'm taking over.
Time for some netty news, although Matt's already jumped in. Do you want to start us off then?
Do you want me to start us off?
Yeah.
Welcome to netty news on the backcourt. No, big one. They started off on the weekend with the, I think they call it the Battle of the Bruce, which is apparently a road in
Bruce
Queensland,
Highway.
not the battle over Courtney Bruce, which I thought it might be when I first heard of it.
Well, you would be. Everyone would want to pick her up.
Exactly.
So fair enough.
But Firebirds lost again. Lightning always beat the teams below them. An interesting stat before we get into the nitty-gritty of the game. And I think
you really are taking the hosting, driving the netball part of things.
Well, someone's got to keep this ship afloat. If Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman are listening. It was mentioned on broadcast, the Firebirds haven't beaten the Lightning since round 2, 2022. Yeah. And they won by about 30 goals, mind you. But so it's been the Lightning have dominated, I think they call it the Queensland Cup or something. I don't know. But they've dominated that, and they did it again on the weekend. Courtney Bruce, Battle of the Bruce, 13 deflections. I don't know. It looked like one of those games where the Firebirds were never really out of it, but they were never really in it.
No, and I know much has been much ado about the fish and chip paper, but it's really hard to get around the Firebirds at the moment. I feel like they improve to a minuscule degree every week, but hard road for the rest of the season.
It's going to be a long build like the Giants. I think because the thing is, people thought new coach, obviously 2 imports, and everyone was like, And again, we both had them about 6th, I think, on our ladder. We thought they might improve a lot more. But at the heart of it, there's only 2 new players, both coming from the UK league. And obviously you've done a lot, as we just mentioned. You're looking at all the leagues. It's a very different. So it's going to take them all to get up to pace. So it's pretty much the same team as last year without Donnell, who was probably their best player.
Yeah, I think if we were power ranking, I'd have the Giants ahead of them. Yeah. I actually think they're stone cold dead last.
I said a couple of weeks ago, Giants are playing much better netball than their ladder position. So I agree with you on that.
Something I thought was interesting as I was watching this match is a lot of goal attacks, they've gone a bit quiet at the moment. And I know that there are lots of netball pundits who say goal attacks don't have to do a lot when you've got such a dominant goal shooter. But just Fretwell, Beckford, I think they're doing different roles than what we're used to. But geez, like real quiet on the numbers front. So yeah, I just wonder with the Firebirds what to with their goaling circle. But speaking of goalers, Cara Conan, what a new lease on life. She had one of her most accurate days ever, 54 from 54. So her largest output at 100%. Over the 50 mark, like.
Ever since people, what was it, round 2 or 3, a couple of people said she was going to be redundant. She's been back to her best. That's a couple of games, but she shot incredibly well.
Yeah.
And obviously she didn't had to shoot any 2-pointers. I'm going to not say super shots this week because I feel myself like just tongue-tied.
Those lips
I'm just going to say, 2-pointers. She didn't have to put any up, obviously, because they were winning quite comfortably. But, 54-54, 100%. I love the way that when she shoots, the ball doesn't spin. I don't know how she does it. It's either spinning so fast it looks like it's not spinning, or she just shoots with no revolutions on the ball. It boggles the mind, but it works. And obviously there was quite a lot of Cara Conan stuff in the press as well.
Yeah, I think Sarah Burt wrote a fantastic article talking about how Cara Conan.
On ABC again. We're doing a lot of ABC this week.
Well, we shout out where there's good content, no matter who it's coming from. I think we're pretty impartial on that. Talking about how she was a victim of sexual assault. And I think that really threw me because we're used to seeing SSN netballers as like nothing can defeat them, right? Like they are the most beautiful, intelligent, strong, capable women, and anyone can be a victim of something like sexual assault. And it just threw me like, oh, wow, it's impacting even SSN athletes. Like this is wild.
I think it's one of those things that you always look at people and you never, it's one of those things you don't walk around going, that person looks like, no one ever looks like they've been a victim.
It can be anyone.
Right, exactly. So I think that's the thing that a lot of people, just a couple of things that jumped out to me from it were that you never know what someone's going through.
Yeah.
Which is not to say that like people can't comment on people's performance and whatever, but it is one of those things that like whenever we might feel like we're getting close to the line, we just take it like we don't know what we're going through. I didn't know you were trying to play in Jamaica. You didn't know I wanted to be the host. But you never know what people are going through.
The pressure
exactly.
looming, carry the knives behind the set.
Someone that's like whenever we're commenting on people's, obviously you're allowed to critique people, but at some point you do need to think about that. And also I thought a very important point in the article, she talks about the importance of making sure that you get the message into people quite young. And often like there's a lot of stuff in there where she mentions that, when you're a kid, a boy, for example, might pull your hair or throw dirt at you or, give you a little jab to the arm when you're younger in primary school or whatever. And often you are told, oh, that's a sign that, he or she likes you, which it probably is true, but it's on the adults in the room to actually explain to the child, if you do like that person, physical violence is not how you express that feeling, So it's not about, telling, going, oh, kids will be kids. It's about, right, okay, the kid was a kid. We need to educate them because, we can't just rely on an article once every 6 weeks to solve the issue. But
yeah, nor can we rely on women continually being the messengers of that. So I appreciate those thoughts because I completely agree. And that quote I thought was very, very powerful. And again, like I just talk about netballers being superheroes and how eloquently she's spoken about this. And I think, powerful article. Netball's always been a sport that champions women. And I think, it was really well said. So no.
And well written by Sarah.
Yeah, very well done. So go Cara Conan. Love that she's putting up 100%, dominating.
Lightning win again.
Yeah.
Finals are locked in. It's all about winning a game against a top 4 team now.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
I'll have to have that conversation with the new co-host.
Oh, all right. Well, before I go, the Fever.
Yeah.
Now this was match of the round.
Picked it.
You know what, actually, important topic. I'm so happy that I'm leaving now.
Yeah, you can't technically lose the tips if you quit halfway through, can you?
Does it just say HK
He'll have an asterisk
omitted.
because I was going to win, but now we can't confirm it because unless you want to keep sending your tips in. But
No, I actually think
you're happy to step away.
I may or may not be fleeing the country to avoid this certain fate that I'm losing the tips.
Hey, suits me. No, you're right though. So you've got a note in here that the Swifts have never beaten the Fever at Ken Rosewall.
Yeah.
They've beaten them at Kudos Bank, but never Ken Rosewall.
Which I thought blew my mind.
Home away from home for the Fever.
Unreal. They make everywhere their fortress. They don't need the army. They just get it done. Now, I was working both this match and the previous one we just spoke about for Champion Data, giving the Fox people all of their stats. And I thought this one is just crazy. Like, it just blows my mind. But again, Fever, they're looking so hot. They've ended the Swifts hot streak. We questioned whether the streak would continue all season. Is it a healthy loss for them?
So they won 9 in a row, didn't they, the Swifts? Because they won the last game of last year and then 8 in a row this year. And 10 is the record. If you get to 10, no one's ever done that. So they fell short at 9. The Fever are on 7, and I haven't looked at their next 3. They've got the Mavs this weekend. They've already played the Swifts. The Fever themselves could rack up a huge streak here because when their plan A is the best plan, like when they're allowed to play plan A, they are clinically ruthless. Like obviously Janelle helps, but they're like the way that it's when they're allowed to play their system as it's meant to be played, they're the best by a mile. Their only question mark is if plan A is not working. That's probably been the thing that's caught them a couple of times the last 2 years.
How often does plan A not work?
Prelim finals 2 years in a row.
Okay.
They'll definitely finish top 2 now. That's the only question for them is if plan A, they're the best plan A team, but it's if plan B, because now the Swifts, Lightning, they'll all be going out to them and going, right, we've got to figure out plan A and stop it. So their next job is to figure out plan B. But
I think the momentum against the Swifts, aka the scouting reports, are becoming deeper and more comprehensive.
Well,
Dan Ryan had a blueprint last week.
They obviously put like Hallen's not having the same scoreboard impact, and they want to make these really long feeds, don't they? Because when it works, but there's also much more risk involved. And Katie and Dehaney cleaned up as well on Grace.
So I was going to say Grace is looking increasingly rattled over the last few weeks. I'm waiting to see. I think there are 2 ways this can go.
Well, they're relying on her too much personally. They're expecting way too much from her.
Absolutely. But I think also she's come to Australia for this learning curve. The learning opportunity has arisen. Will she either learn and upgrade her skill set, or is it just she's been found out now of her weaknesses? Still obviously an incredible player, and don't take this as me dismissing her. But I think now other clubs are figuring out how to rattle the Swifts, given it's been done the last few weeks. Lightning started to pick up.
But I think they're rattling the Swifts further up the court, and then they just panic. Yeah, and then they just panic to Grace and asking Grace to do ridiculous stuff that only probably Janelle can do. And even then, it'd be interesting to see how Janelle would have gone with the feeds coming in.
Yeah.
Because often a lot of people say about Alice Tegneal, she just lobs it up to Janelle. But obviously there's a bit more involved.
Craft. Yeah. No, I just wondered, do the Swifts have do they have a backup plan? Do they evolve plan A? Do other teams continue to find ways to nullify the Grace impact? I can't wait to see how it plays out. But netball, I think the SSN has just become a hell of a lot more interesting off the back of that one result. If we had to pick a most pivotal match of the season, that one would be it for me. But yeah, you're right. Dehaney had a great game. And I think my appreciation of her grew 100-fold between her documentary coming out, the Uncovered doco we're loving from Netball Australia, and that match. I just couldn't get over how much heartbreak she has had in her life. And I don't think she'd spoken very openly about how she's had so many deaths in her family. You know, her mum, her dad.
Immediate family,
her brother, her sister. She was raised by her grandma. When she came across the Sunshine Coast Lightning, her grandmother passed away. It's just unfathomable.
So she left Jamaica to come play for the Vixens.
Yeah.
And then obviously moved to the Lightning, and that's when her grandmother passed away.
Which would just be so horrid being over in Australia, having all of that happen. I just can't believe how she functions as a human being, let alone this amazing netballer. And I think the most starkly, the storytelling of it was just unreal in that you're seeing all these images of Katie Dehaney getting these amazing intercepts and how strong and athletic she is on screen. And then the voiceover talking about how she felt so she was just in a world of turmoil, personal turmoil as it was happening. And I thought that contrast just blows my mind.
It comes back to that thing about you don't know what people are going through. You can't just watch someone play sport and assume that everything's right.
Yeah, I couldn't get over what she'd been through. And then the silver lining of how She wanted to go home to Jamaica, but she was encouraged to keep playing, but just find some Jamaican teammates. And then she found her home at the Fever. So that
she's
puts
dominating.
such a smile on my face. I just think what a super. We've spoken already about Cara Conan being such a superhero, and I just think, these netballers are just unreal.
I don't think there's a person in the netballing world that dislikes Katie Ann Dehaney.
No.
Credit to her.
Yeah, credit to her and the team that pulled that documentary together. Can't wait to see who the next one is. But speaking of other superstars, I mean, that was a big match that we just spoke about, the Swifts and the Fever. Did anyone see the Thunderbirds getting rattled by the Giants?
Now, I'll give you your credit here. You didn't back yourself in the tips, but you did flag that you could see the Giants. Obviously, they beat them last time and you thought they were playing. We were both agreed the Giants were playing better, a win was coming. Clearly, they're a bogey team for the Thunderbirds because they've beaten them twice. And you also mentioned last week that Casey Kapua, she was clearly rattled in terms of how quick a turnaround it was from, what was it, Tuesday message, Wednesday agree, Thursday flight, play Saturday or Sunday, and she was wearing black socks with white shoes. Now, she tidied that up, didn't she?
So this is the bit. We were chatting last week on the backcourt about the hairstyles and your shoes and what the vibe is. I reckon Casey, she went, I'm actually prepared this week. I'm no longer living out of a suitcase. I've had a week of notice. She's gone. She has changed to the white socks with white shoes. I noticed that. And also, she didn't go the ponytail that went into bun at quarter time. She's come prepared with the underneath braid, bun on top.
And we're reliably informed by one of our many, many, many production staff. No, that they had to call time for her twice. And one of them was because her laces came untied. So she clearly needs more than the pair of runners she's had to buy herself. We need Asics, we need Mizuno, we need Puma, we need someone, maybe, Skechers.
Nike.
To send her a couple of pairs of shoes because, again, it's obviously she's had a bit more time on the ground, but she still might be a bit sort of scattered as to where she is. But she can't be more scattered than the Thunderbirds were shooting their 2-pointers. So we know the Giants are good at it, right?
Yeah.
9 from 10.
Yeah.
Joe and Sophie didn't miss them, 4 apiece. The Thunderbirds usually don't take them, but desperate times, desperate measures. They put up 16 shots and only got 2 of them in. And I think Georgie got both of them.
Yeah, when you look at the percentages, not great.
Oh. If they just passed it in a couple more times and they could 16 attempts, half of them are 1-point attempts, they win the game. But that's obviously too simple. But yeah, disappointing loss for Thunderbirds because it puts them out of the 4 now and they'll need to win one against the odds. But your friend of mine, Romelda Aiken-George, hit another milestone.
I love this. I feel like every week we find a Romelda Aiken-George milestone and they've been big so far. And I just wonder, do you reckon...
what was this one? It was 4,000 Super Netball goals.
Yeah, so 4,000 goals in the SSN, which again, great.
Follows on from 9,000 in National League.
And then that way. Do you reckon the team's getting a bit sick of cheering on Romelda Aiken-George's milestones every week?
Or do they go the other way? Each week they need a new milestone.
You
this
reckon?
Week it's most games by a Jamaican with the name starting with R. And then next week it's most defensive rebounds by a goal shooter with a double-barrel surname. And then the week after that, it's like, most points scored by a player with a daughter named, Gigi. Keep rolling out these ridiculous milestones. And she could collect by the end of the year because you get a bunch of flowers every time you get a milestone.
I reckon every week.
Florist should be running a flower shop in Main Street, Adelaide. All these milestones.
I reckon I think she's the only player to put up over 10,000 attempts.
There you go.
So I reckon they need to celebrate that belatedly.
Yep.
That's a good
Find
stat.
out when that was.
Backcourters, what stat do you reckon we can put in for Romelda Aiken-George this week, every week? I reckon, in my absence, can you put in a new standing item on the show?
In my absence.
I reckon we need Romelda Aiken-George's stat to celebrate.
All right, I'll come up with a milestone each week.
I'll send some ideas across. Meanwhile...
Yeah, milestones. On milestones.
Or just Romelda Aiken-George. Let's celebrate her even more.
But there was a milestone in the Melbourne Derby.
Oh.
Kim Possible.
Our favourite super spy had her 100th. I hope they got around that milestone.
I think they did. I don't know whether she got flowers, but I think they definitely got around it.
Fantastic.
Mavericks.
Also a win, 66-57.
No, not for the Mavericks.
No, for the Vixens. Sorry.
Yes. Big sister, little sister. So I think the first time they played, I said there's no chance the Mavericks, it's big sister, little sister stuff. And that continues. So I think, again, our friend Chatters on the coverage said something like the Vixens have won all 4 of the derbies by an average winning margin of 11 or something like that. So they've obviously done well, the Mavs, to get it back to 9. But, yeah, the Vixens just one of those teams. If the Thunderbirds' bogey team is the Giants, the Vixens do not have an issue with the Mavs. And it was a great weekend for the Vixens.
Oh, they broke attendance records.
Sold out. I think 3 of the 4 games were sold out actually, but rolled the Mavericks. Thunderbirds lost into the top 4. Life's good.
Boom, boom, boom.
Too easy.
Got to say, their press conferences just keep getting more and more iconic. We're going to have to – can we do a deep dive on our socials?
Might put a couple of clips up from your favourite moments from the press conferences this year on socials soon. But I enjoy Simone's one is that, like, she just doesn't – a lot of the coaches will sit bolt upright the whole time. Simone's moving around. She's elbow on the desk, leaning back, adjusting the belt, arms out, just been there, done that.
Well, we know that I love having a riveting weekend. And with the long weekend in Melbourne giving me an extra day of time, I was doing a deep dive on all of the press conferences because I think there's always
got a life, don't you?
Again, I am very single. This has been mentioned.
Well, you're going to the big netball house in Jamaica.
Maybe I'll find myself a Jamaican boyfriend. But in the meantime, I've been scouring these press conferences because I think since the mark of Simone announcing her resignation, they've just been getting more and more rogue.
Everyone's trying to one-up each other.
I've got to ask the backcourt family, can we actually put up a clip of the Joe Weston press conference? Because I want to know what happened at the end.
This is against the Firebirds.
Yeah, this was last week. I just think these presses are getting more rogue and I wish there was more coverage of them. But, talk to me about what happened to Joe Weston at the end because,
Basically, we'll stop bearing the lead. Hannah thinks she was pretending to faint so they could get out of the interview.
Maybe not pretending to faint, but it was giving off – when a journo's asked you too many questions that you don't like.
Well, you need to get used to this in Jamaica. You'll be getting door stopped down in Kingston. You'll be going for a morning walk to get some coffee and that's Hannah Kuhar from the Manchester Spurs. So get ready for this. Maybe you could learn a thing or two.
I've been studying these presses and we'll use some of that. But the press conferences are getting rogue. Very funny moments, but we'll keep you posted there. Let's do our tips then.
Let's do them. Our last tips.
I might actually go just complete YOLO considering that.
Can't be any worse than what you've been doing usually.
Ouch, brother. Nah, fair. Mavs and Fever.
Fever, by a lot.
Yeah, I can't even go YOLO on that. I have to agree. Thunderbirds and the Firebirds. Battle of the Birds.
Battle of the Birds. Thunderbirds.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just, I honestly think the Giants just have their number. They played well against the Swifts the other week. They should have beaten the Swifts the other week.
Yeah, they should have. And Firebirds, I don't think they're giving us enough to get on board. Vixens and Swifts.
So you're both going Thunderbirds. So you haven't gone Craigie yet.
Yeah, not yet.
I'm going to go Vixens. I got a feeling.
Oh, okay.
You got black eyed peas. You got black eyed peas queued up there, Brad. I got a feeling that the Vixens might win. They're playing well at the moment. Like you said, Swifts might just be having it could go one of the two ways. Swifts could pump them because bounce back stuff, or just try to find their feet, find a couple of things. Vixens are on a roll. Home crowd.
Well, tonight's going to be a good night for the Swifts. I think they're going to win that one. Giants and Coast Lightning.
You have to go the Giants because I go the Lightning.
Yeah. You know what, YOLO, I'm out of here anyway.
If the Giants win, I'll concede the tips.
Oh, geez, I wasn't expecting you to give me that farewell parting gift.
That's all right. Anytime.
I'll take that. All right, I'll go the Giants.
Yeah.
I feel like I've secretly been on board the Giants bandwagon for a while. And, maybe they can get it done against the old Lightning.
The Orange team.
Go the Orange team. Well, I reckon that's enough silliness
that was a
for
big
today.
Episode. Yeah, it was a lot in it.
Were you expecting that exclusive of a bit of Jamaican netball?
When I woke up this morning, no, I wasn't.
This show goes into rogue areas. I'm glad that I can do some intrepid exploring for the backcourt family. What does netball look like in regions that we don't hear about enough, like Jamaica?
We're going to find out.
Get across the IG and TikTok backcourt_pod and give me some content ideas if you want to see some snippets. I'm going to be busy playing netball, but I'll try and get
genuinely needs your help when it comes to content creation. So if you've got any ideas, slide into our DMs or her DMs and tell us what you want to see from Jamaica.
What does the backcourt want to see? I might bring one of the caps over and see if they're enjoying that. I'm sure we've got many fans in Jamaica of the potty. Maybe they're sliding into backcourtdms@gmail.com with their own content requests, but keep rating and reviewing the pod. Hopefully by the time I get back, our Spotify, Apple Podcasts and YouTube rankings are just off the charts. And, that'll be it. Maddie.
Sign off.
I'll see you guys in about 7 weeks. I promise. Grand final time.
Go the Spurs.
Go the Manchester Spurs.